This is Gemara Nedarim Daf Pei Aleph. All the learning for the month of Teves has been generously sponsored by a close friend of the Das, Chos Ilu Neshama, Faryalei ben Yaakov b'Siyata Dishmaya. The learning the entire Chabura should bring Aryalei ben Yaakov to a higher place in Gan Eden Shel Maila, closer to the Kisei HaKavod. Each as a schos of the learning each and every day as well. Today we like to dedicate to the Yishir as a schos Aliyas Neshama for Yosef ben Nachman Halevi, whose yahrzeit was yesterday on Chav Teves b'Siyata Dishmaya. The learning of the entire Chabura should as well bring Yosef ben Nachman Halevi to a higher place in Gan Eden Shel Maila, closer to the Kisei HaKavod. So we're holding on Pei Amid Beis. We're about 10 lines from the bottom. First word on the line is Lidei Inui. We continue discussing the opinion of Rav Yosi, who we quoted in the Mishnah with regard to being Mefer Nedarim of Inui Nefesh. And most notably, we're honing in on the detail of Rav Yosi that ended off the previous year that taught us that if a woman makes a neder that she will not bathe, shelo yarchatz, abstaining from bathing, says Rav Yosi, is not considered affliction, and therefore it is not considered a neder of inui nefesh, and therefore the husband cannot be made for such a neder. We begin today as the Gemara asks, V'rami de Rav Yosi ad Rav Yosi. Let's ask a sira, a contradiction within the opinion of Rav Yosi. The Gemara quotes a brayso that teaches us, Me'ayin shel b'nei Yair. If we have a mayan, a spring of a specific city, it comes from within one city, and therefore that city has ownership of this mayan, of this spring. But the spring doesn't end in that city; it continues to flow into the next city. Chayehen v'chayei acherim. And now, what's the question? Question is, there's not enough water from this well. So who takes precedence? It starts in city A and it flows into city B. So who takes precedence? Chayehan, their livelihood, or Chayei Acherim? Says the Gemara, the classical rule, Chayehan, Koidmin, Chayei Acherim. The city in which the Mayan originated, their livelihood comes first in conjunction with the classical rule of Chayecha, Koidmin, Chayei Chavercha. But continues the Braisa, Behemton, or Behemas Acherin. Let's say this is not a question of water for the people themselves. Let's say it's a question of water for their animals. So now we have excuse me, the animals of the city where the well originated, or the animals of the neighboring town. Again, says the Braisa, Behemtam Koidemes Lebehemas Chaverim. Their own animals come first. And it continues the Braisa with case number 3, Kivisasan ukvisas acherim. Now the matter is, who does laundry first? That city or the neighboring city? Says the Braisa, Kivisasan koidemes lekvisas acherim. So in all three scenarios, whether it's their chayeyan, whether it's their life, whether it's to feeding their animals, or whether it's laundry, the city in which the Mayan Shel B'nei Yair originated, they come first. Continues the Braisa, Chayei Acherin ukvisasan. Now let's say we have to weigh the lives of someone else. The neighboring city doesn't even have enough water to live, and this water will allow them to stay alive. Or ukvisasan, or the laundry of the city in which the Mayan originated. Says the Braisa, as probably everyone can anticipate, but don't jump so fast as we're about to see. It's a large machlokes. Says the Braisa, Chayei Acherim Koidmin Lekvisasan. The livelihood of their friends comes before their own laundry. But continues the Braisa with a startling statement. Rav Yosi Omer, no. Kvisasan Koidemes Lechayei Acherim. Their own laundry even comes before the livelihoods of the neighboring town. Obviously, what does Rav Yosi view laundry? He obviously views laundry a matter of inui nefesh, a matter of affliction, a matter of life and death. So now the Gemara articulates the question. Hashta kvisam Rav Yosi yesh baitzar. Now, if Rav Yosi considers kvitza, laundry, to be something that involves sar, and that's the reason why Rav Yosi is teaching us that town's laundry even could come before the chayei, the lives of the neighboring city. Ask the Gemara as we turn over to Pei Aleph and Aleph. Gof, kuloi, loy kol shekain. So is it possible that Rav Yossi is going to say, but to wash one's own body, that's not called tsar? And that's the stira within Rav Yossi, as we just quoted Rav Yossi as being the opinion that lack of washing one's body is not considered tsar, is not considered inui nefesh. But if we're seeing over here that even affliction, even laundry is considered tsar, certainly washing one's entire body. Answers the Gemara Amri in Kvisa. It is true that laundry alima l'Rav Yossi. Rav Yossi considered laundry discomfort from lack thereof to be even on a higher level than bathing itself. Ta'amar Shmuel, as Shmuel has taught us, Hi arbuvisa dereshe masya lidei avera. The uncleanliness of one's head can lead to blindness. But, and this is the line that we need, arbuvisa damani masya lidei shamumisa. The uncleanliness of one's clothing, lack of laundry, brings to what, says the Braisa? Shamumisa, to be shu'amim, to be crazy, dementia. But Arvavisa de Gufa, Ma'isa Shechni, brings just to boils, Vekivi, and sores. So it's true, boils and sores are not pleasant, but they're not at the same level as Arbuvisa, as dementia. So proves the Gemara that indeed, Rav Yossi is of the opinion that washing one's clothing is on an even higher level than washing one's own body. Therefore, we do not have a stira, we do not have a contradiction within the opinion of Rav Yossi. We continue 5 lines down. Pei Aleph Amin Aleph Shalchu Mitam. They send from there the following: Hizaru Barvuvisa. Take matter. Be careful with cleanliness or lack thereof. Hizaru Bechabura. Be careful with the people that you hang out with. Always be together with Chabura when it comes to learning Torah. And Hizaru Bebnei Aniyim. And be careful with the children of Aniyim. Shemeihen. The children of Aniyim are Teitzei Torah. That's where the Torah is going to come from. They don't have any other thing to focus on, and therefore when they learn, they completely focus 100%, and therefore the children of Aniyim are those that become Talmidei Chachamim. Shenemar Yizal Mayim Midal Yav. As the pasuk says, water flows forth from Dal Yav, which literally means wells, and from here we darshan Shemehen Teitzei Torah. So again, a bit of a random teaching, but it's coming from the fact that this Braisa said, Hizaru Barvuvivya, that you should be careful with this uncleanliness, the lack of bathing, etc. We continue on a similar vein. Why is it uncommon for Talmidei Chachamim to have children who are Talmidei Chachamim, Amar Rav Yosef? And again, this doesn't mean it's impossible, it just means it's difficult. We don't want people to say that Torah is a Yerusha. The father's Talmid Chacham, so to the kid. So Hashem makes it purposely more difficult for the child of a Talmid Chacham to be a Talmid Chacham. Rav Sheshes, Bereid Ravidi Omer, says Rav Sheshes, another reason. Yisgadru ala tzibur. You know why? We don't want them to be yiskaber, yisgadru. To be strong, to lord over the public. If father and son are both Talmid Chachamim. Marzocha Omer, Neshehein misgabrin ala tzibur. Similarly, cause that they're going to end up being ruling over the tzibur. Avashi Omer Misham. You know why the children of Talmid do not become Talmid Chachamim? Says Rav Ashi, a startling statement, perhaps an incredible musar. Teaches Rav Ashi, the reason is because they call people, refer to Talmid Chachamim, refer to people as Chamairim, donkeys, they would belittle others. Ravina Omer, another psat, shein mevarchen ba'atayra tchila. They would not say Berachas HaTorah first. Again, lack of chashivos to Torah. What is the meaning of the pasuk? Who is the wise man who will understand this? They asked this matter to the Chachamim. They asked this matter to the Nevi'im. They didn't have an answer. Until Hashem Himself explained the pasuk Tichsev, as the pasuk says, Vayomer Hashem, and Hashem responded, and Hashem explained, Al azvim al tarasi, because you forsake my Torah v'gomer v'chulu. Hainu explains the Gemara, lo shamu b'kaili, hainu lo halchu ba. The pasuk says they didn't listen to my voice, the same they didn't follow it. Both are very similar. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. What does this teach us? She'ein mevarchin ba'Torah tchila. Again, lack of berachas Torah, honing in on the detail, lack of avos and chashivos to the Torah. Similarly, as we know, the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. One of the reasons of were she'ein mevarchin ba'Torah tchila. So continues the Gemara, smack him in the Amma. The first line is Isi Bar Yehuda. Reverting back to the topic of laundry, Lo Yasa Lemesifta de Rav Yosi Talasa Yaimi. Says the Gemara, Rav Isi ben Yehuda did not come to the yeshiva of Rav Yosi for 3 days. Eshkachei Verdimus Rav Yosi. And he found Verdimus, the son of Rav Yosi, Amar Le, and he asked him, My time Lasi, Mar Levei Jasha, Ta'aba, Hatzalas in Yamin, where were you in yeshiva the past 3 days? So Amar Lei. So Isi Bar Yehuda responds, Kitaimei Ta'avoch Lo Yadana Hechi Asya. Because I don't understand the shir, I don't understand your father's reasoning. Amar Lei. So the child of Rav Yesi Vardamus responds, Lema Mar, Maika Amar Lei. Tell me what Rav Yesi told you. Tell me Adana time. Maybe I could explain. Amar Lei, you responded, Haditanya, that which the Brisa says, Yesi Amar Kvisasa Kadin Chaya Chayrim. I can't understand. How could it be the din that we started with an Amud Aleph, an Amud Beis? How could it be that laundry comes before other people's lives? Karami Nalan. From where do we learn this out? From a pasuk. Amar Lei. Verdimus responded. Dechsev Umir Ger Sheim Yu Lebehemtam. And the migrash and the open space is the area that the Levium took in Eretz Yisrael. The open spaces outside of the land should be for their animals. My Chayasam. What does it mean that it should be for their Chayasam? Ile Machayo. If the pasuk is referring to for their animals, the pasuk already said that their animals have an area. Elamai Chayasam Chayusa Marmish. So what does it mean? You're going to tell me that it means that actually this is where the Levium live? Pshita. That's obvious. Why does the pasuk have to hone in and say there's extra areas? Of course. El-Alav, you know what it means when it says that there's an area around the city of Levium that's used for chiyusam. Kivisa means for laundry. And this is called chiyusam. Why? Because being unclean could bring to tsar. And therefore explains the Gemara that's the Levium got an extra area to ensure that they had appropriate springs that they could do their laundry. Continues the Gemara. It's actually interesting saying that these are the Levium that have a special chelik of Torah and Eretz Yisrael. Just interesting to mention how Ramosha Feinstein points out that perhaps there's an extra heter for B'nai Torah to wash during 9 days, etc. As Ramosha says, when it comes to concentration, sitting in one area and thinking and learning, sometimes requires extra focus. Therefore, says Ramosha, perhaps there'll be a little bit of an extra heter. As we sing over here, there is tsar darvovisa. There is a tsar of lack of bathing, and maybe there'll be a little more of a leniency. Amar Rav Yesi ein elu nidre inui nefesh. So we continue 10 lines to the bottom of the 2 dots, quoting the opinion of Rav Yesi. Rav Yesi says, these Nedarim, to abstain from bathing, adorning them oneself, are not considered inui nefesh. So Yibayilahu asked the Gemara the Rav Yosi, Ma'u sheyiper mishon devarim shabein alabeina. Asked the Gemara, very good according to Rav Yosi. It's not called inui nefesh. It's not called affliction. But ask the Gemara 1 second. We know there's another category of nedarim that the father, the husband are able to annul, which are nedarim shabein alabeina, nedarim that have a factor, a difference between him and her. So even if he cannot be made for them, mishon inui nefesh, they should be able to be made for because of Bina Lebina. Let's remind ourselves what we saw the other day, that the Nedarim of Inui Nefesh, once you're made for, it's forever. But Nedarim Bina Lebina, it's only going to be as long as they are married, as long as it actually factors between husband and wife. But I asked the Gemara, why at least shouldn't the husband be able to make for that? Tashema proves the Gemara. Amar Rav Yosi ein elu nidre inui nefesh. The Mishnah said that Rav Yosi held these are not Nedarim avinu nefesh, aval dvarim shebeina lebeina havon. So the Gemara is medayik. Why did Rav Yosi say they're not nedarim avinu nefesh? He could have just said that the husband doesn't have the right to be made for them. From the fact that he hones in that they're ein elu nidri neidu nefesh, seemingly teaches us, says the Gemara, that Rav Yosi will allow the husband to be made for them. Why? Because they're considered b'dvarim shebeina lebeina. But I asked the Gemara 1 second, 5 lines from the bottom, maybe Rav Yosi is just responding and retorting back to the Rabbanan. According to me, according to Rav Yosi, if you live they're nothing. But according to the Rabbanan, the Amitu Avanan Darin Nidi Nefesh. Ideally, they ain't eating Nidi Nefesh. Why don't you at least admit to me that they're not eating Nefesh? They're only Nedarim Shbeina Lebeina. So Mai says the Gemara, according to Rav Yosi, we're stuck with the Shaila. According to Rav Yosi, are these Nedarim considered Nedarim of Beina lebeina, and therefore the husband could yes be made for them, albeit for a limited time? Or no, does Rav Yosi hold not only are they not Nidri Nefesh, they're not even Nedarim Beina lebeina? So answers the Gemara in the last line of Pe'al from Meral for Vada Rava Amar Mefer. Yes, the husband could be Mefer. Ravuna Amar ain't Mefer. So Machlekes Rav Barava and Rav Huna Lamaisa, are the Nedarim considered Nedarim of Inui Nefesh or not? We turn over to Pei Aleph and Beis, and the Gemara finishes the sentence. Why? What's the reason for Rav Huna that says the husband cannot be made for it? Shaloi Matzinu Shual Shemeis Ba'afer Pir. We've never found a fox that dies in the dirt of his own hole. The Gemara is explaining that once one is accustomed to something, it's not going to bother him so much. So too over here, if the wife is not bathing, it's not something that could cause the husband so much pain. Similar to a fox not being pained or not dying from the dirt in its own hole. So says the Gemara, Tanya Kavase, the Ravada Barava. Let's bring a raya to Ravada Barava. That was the first opinion that said the husband could yes be made for these nedarim. Dvarim sheish b'hem yinui nefesh mefer beina lebeina acherim. If it's involving yinui nefesh, they could always be made for them. She'ein b'hem yinui nefesh dvarim that are not involving yinui nefesh beina lebeina mefer. If it's in him and her, then even though he cannot be made for because of the yinui nefesh, but he can be made for because they're beina lebeina. End of Brisa. But the Brisa continues and says, Keitzad. That's the din part of the Brisa. But continues the Brisa with an example. Amra, she says, if she says fruits, blanket statement, are kainam to me, certainly involving Inui Nefesh. Why? Because she has nothing to eat. There is a yafer. The husband could yes be made for them. Kainam sheini oiseh lepiaba. She says in neder that I'm not going to give my ma'aseh yadayim to the mouth of my father, lepi achicha, the mouth of your brother, lepi avicha, the mouth of your father, fiachi, my brother, v'shlayate in tavin lefnei behemtecha, umayim lefnei bekarchan. I'm not going to give your animals to eat. Ein yachal afer. Then the husband can't be made for them because it's not something that involves beinoi lebeina. But continues the brayso shalecha v'shalayefkis. Let's say this woman said, I'm making a neder, I'm not going to put on my makeup. Make a neder, shaleefkis, I can put on different types of face makeup. Shaloshamish bitasi. Or she makes a neder that she's not going to have relations with her husband. Yafer. Then the husband, of course, could yes be made for it. Why? Misham devarim shabina lebeina. Because this is considered a neder that is between husband and wife. But if she says, I'm not going to make your bed, if I'm not going to pour or dilute for you the cup of wine, I'm not going to wash your face, hands, and legs, then ein tzarech lahafer. Then the husband is not able to be made for them. Why? Because they don't take effect b'chlal, because these are things that a woman is obligated to do, husband to wife, wash him, make his bed, etc. Therefore, the neder never is chal in the first place. Rav Gamliel Oimer says, Rav Gamliel Yafer, no, he still needs to be made for them. Why? Shenemar lo yachel devaroi. The pasuk says you should not desecrate his word. So parenthetically, we quote that this pasuk teaches us that a Talmid Chacham cannot be made for his own neder. But Rav Gamliel brings down this pasuk to teach us that even something that is just a dvaroi, even something that the neder is be'etzim nachal at all. Why is it nachal? Because she's obligated to do these things for her. Still, he has to be made for her the neder. We conclude this part of the Gemara. Man shamina and amar shloecha v'shloefcha svarim shabina lebina. Who is the opinion that says not to put on eye makeup, not to put on face makeup? It's considered a neder between a husband and wife. Hainu Rav Yosi says the Gemara. Excuse me, Shebina Lebina Havan. Rav Yosi, Vekatani, the Mefer, Mishan Devarim, Shebina Lebina. So the Gemara proves that we have a clear raya that these are considered Nedarim that are involving husband and wife. And Rav Yosi, yes, allows them to be made for. So going back to our original question, according to Rav Yosi, he says not to bathe, etc., are not considered Inui Nefesh, but is it considered Beina Lebeina, and therefore the husband can be made for it? The Gemara proves yes. But now, Amar Mar, about 20 lines at the bottom, the first word in the line is Lebeina, says the Gemara, let's go back, let's dissect the brayso that we just quoted. What was one of the cases? Shalashamish mitasi. If she says, I will not have relations, said the brayso, Yafar Zilti made for it. Why? Why? Because this is a matter, obviously, that involves husband and wife. So, but says the Gemara, what exactly is the case? She says the forbidding the hana of relations onto you, onto the husband. And this is the question I'm sure many people were bothering that we spoke out, that she has an obligation to make his bed, etc. And I'm sure people are wondering, wait, the previous case of relations, she also has an obligation, a shiba to her husband. So ask the Gemara that kasha, that if she forbade her benefit of relations onto her husband, lamli afara, why does he need to be made for it? She is obligated to give him that, therefore the nether should never be chal. Elo be'imeres, the case is hanas tashmishech alai. The case is in which she said the pleasure of having relationships with you is asr alai on me. This is what she says. Therefore, the nether is be'etzeb chal, because there's nothing asr on him. It's only asr onto herself. Ucharavuna, and we force him to be made for the nether. Why? Excuse the number of kahana. If she says, I'm making the benefit of pleasure of usher to you, she's not allowed to do that, and therefore we force her to have relations with him. But she says, the benefit should be usher to me. Yafer, then he has to be made for the nether. Why? We don't feed a person something that is forbidden to him, and this would be something that is forbidden to him, to him, meaning to her. We don't feed her something that's forbidden to her, and therefore the only way he's going to be allowed to have relations with her is if he's going to be made for it first, and of course he's allowed to be made for it. Why? Because this is called Davarim Shebeina Lebeina. Man Tana concludes our Gemara for today. Who's the Tana that says on the Tana something that someone is Michael and others hold it to Asr Yatarashi Lening B'Mehatzer? You can't be Michael in front of those who are Noig Isser. Kidei Levat, in order to be Mevatla Mishum Shenemar Lo Yachel Tivaroi, because the pasuk says you should not desecrate the word. Like we just quoted a moment ago. Mani, who is that like? Rav Gamliel, he like the same opinion Rav Gamliel that we had a moment ago that learns out from this pasuk that says Lo Yachal Devaroi, that what? This is where we learn out a Chacham cannot be makel for himself. We'll pick it up for the next Shayla and the next Shir in Mirza Hashem.